this part is just really a great feature in After Effects. You can just do a limitless amount of really cool stuff with it. For this one, I will be using a 5-second footage of myself here. So first thing to do is duplicate in the layer, as the text will be inserted between these two layers a bit later on. Then double click the top layer and the duplicated version to be able to enter the layer panel. Now choose the Roto Brush tool in the toolbar, if you haven't done already, to be able to make a rough painting over our subject, or just whatever we're currently working on and might be needing to use the Roto Brush on within the layer or within the actual scene. So just pressing and dragging over here, while the rest will kind of more or less take care of itself and be filled out automatically. And everything we see inside this marked area will be included and everything outside excluded. Although it most likely won't be completely perfect on the first attempt, so you might need to resize or add to the marked area, and then you can just draw over that part again with that green plus inside a circle marker. And if too much have been marked and you need to erase a little bit, just hold down Alt or Option to be able to subtract using this red minus inside a circle marker, if you will. To just quickly be able to change the size of the marks, you can hold down Command or Control while pressing the left mouse cursor and just dragging either up or down to be able to scale it up and down in a more quick way. For all those a little bit tougher areas, just like for example the hair or some fur or just some more small fine details, it's where we can change to the Refine Edge tool and just giving us a little bit of final touch or a little bit more flexibility just at the edges of the hair. And here the white color means that the area is fully included in the frame, the black is fully excluded, while the gray is kind of somewhere there in between, giving a partial or type of gradient transparency. Now, once happy with the rotoscoping, just hit spacebar or preview, and the clip will start analyzing forward, frame by frame, also known as starting the propagation. A tip here is to consider that part of your footage that is kind of most accurate and most stable. So it doesn't always need to be the actual beginning of the clip, the very start. You can go anywhere within the clip and then you can analyze forward or backward afterwards. If at any time the mark or the Roto Brush area is drifting off a bit, then just head back again to just before that frame. Adjust if needed and then just start analyzing again. Now we're seeing our progress in this green bar underneath as a range and direction of automatic so-called propagation. As soon as it's ready, just press freeze. Then you can make any type of adjustments to the matte afterwards. And whenever it's locked and you need to unlock it or you need to do any type of readjustments or changes to it, then just hit the button again to kind of unfreeze it. We might also toggle the visibility of the render, both on and off, just down here left of that freeze icon. And let us toggle on the alpha to actually get a bit of an idea of what just happened. So now showing only the subject or myself without any type of background. We remove this one. Note that as there is a little bit of lack of contrast between the actual hair and the background, which makes it a little bit harder for the rotoscoping to do a proper job sometimes. So just a little trick that you can do there if you're not actually already choosing those type of footage that got big contrast in the beginning between the object and the background, then you might want to try to increase the contrast a little bit going into, for example, the curves, and just change the contrast a little bit between the actual subject, object, and between that background that you're trying to separate with. Moving over to the effect controls for the Roto Brush, there's quite a few helping settings and adjustables to tweak or improve our matte a bit. So to start, we're currently at the newest version, the 3.0 next gen Roto Brush. where the quality is automatically set to the very best. As a default, you're definitely best off using the most updated one, the 3.0 within this case, as just giving you the best type of render speed and the highest accuracy as well, the best quality. But you do have the option though to go back to some prior versions if for whatever reason you might need to do that. Like the 2.0 and then choosing quality between either standard or best, or you can go all the way back to the very classic 1.0 if you prefer that one. If you're ever having some trouble keeping the propagation accurate or more precise, you may go into its settings and adjust the search radius. I will go forward just a little bit and pressing View Search Region plus the Enable Classic Controls. Worth checking out if you ever experiencing any trouble with the line segmentation results, how the tool is kind of separating or outlining parts of your footage to give a little bit better accuracy. Showing this green box around me and a yellow area expanding around the marked propagated area. Dropping it down to a bit lower amount will decrease the search area, while a raising value will do the opposite. Something a little bit handy to kind of pump up a little bit if you have lots of fast moving objects around in your scene, to just get a little bit kind of better hold of it. But it do comes with the price of a little bit higher rendering, as you have a bit more details to do the analyzing of the propagation with. Next, the motion threshold determines how much motion that Roto Brush need to detect before start making some adjustments to the boundaries. As when you're lowering the values, you're also being able to capture a little bit smaller or finer details and movements. Motion damping, which reduces false movement detection by tightening the boundary in areas with slow or minimal motion, and can also be seen whenever you are expanding or tightening that yellow area. The edge detection determines how Roto Brush kind of balance out the edge and outer data to give a type of predictions from the current frame in regards to the surrounding one, so those around that specific current frame. Choose between either the balanced, you got favor predicted, as in upcoming, or current edges. Final alternative for classic controls is the alternate color estimation, which is adjusting the algorithm for color detection between the foreground and the background. So anytime the default ones might be struggling a little bit with that type of separation, this can help with that. I will swap on the alpha here for just seeing a little bit better the effect of invert foreground and background. We then got fine-tune Roto Brush matte and letting us switch on and off the settings below. Get the Roto Brush and the matte just in really fine detail or in more close precision, as close to perfection as possible. And we may also adjust the feather a bit. We can try tweak the contrast along the boundaries. We got the shift edge going into the negative and choking or shrinking the mask around while blowing it up or expanding it if you instead will be increasing the value. Then we might to ramp up and reduce the chatter, as if there's a bit of jitter or a bit of flickering around the edges, like at finer details as with hair, for example. Just adding a little bit more of that stable smoothness. We also got the render refine edge settings. It's just another level of that really refined details when going into very precise control of those more complicated parts of the scene. For example, the hair, as said before, the fur, or just different type of semi-transparent or a bit more complex objects that you need to separate from the background. Set the base refine edge radius, and thus you're able to expand the area where the refine edge is being applied. Smoothness, just like the one we saw before. The feather, contrast, shift edge, and chatter reduction. And with the reduce chatter, setting this to either more detailed or smoother but slower. Adding some motion blur help us sell in the rotoscoping a little bit better. Anytime we have any fast moving parts or objects within the scene, you just give a little bit more credibility to it. Moving on to pointing the samples frame all the way down to 2 for the lowest quality, or we ramp it up all the way to 128 for the very highest quality, but of course always more rendering time. Now either increase or decrease the shutter angle, as in the intensity of the motion blur. Plus there's also an extra ticking box or box to mark for the higher quality. Decontaminate edge colors reduces the kind of background color spill on the subject edges, or on my edges as in this case. With higher amounts, applying just a little bit more aggressive type of decontamination. Whereas the extend, where smoothed, ensures that the decontamination is applied even to feathered or smooth edges. The increase radius. And finally we got the view map, which provides a visual representation of where the decontamination is being applied. And we can see it here if we're ramping up the radius a bit again. That's actually it for the Roto Brush, and now when having the footage prepared, throwing in the text layer in between, and now having something like this. And for the fun of it, why not just throwing in a bit of textured footage, change its track matte to that Roto Brush layer, maybe adding a little bit of keyframe rotation, and just perhaps a nice base for going further with whenever you want to combine footage with a little bit of animated twist.